we have a very, very special recognition here of individual that is truly a great Georgian and has given so much to this state. And the chair is privileged to recognize Chairman Butch Parrish for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I introduce Pete to you here in the House, I'd like to introduce some guests that we have with us today. Just hold up your hand if you would. John Halpert, who is the CEO of Grady. Rhonda Scott is the Chief Operating Officer of Grady, and Renee Blumenthal is the President of the Grady Foundation. And I need to introduce Charlotte, my wife, right down here, so I won't be in trouble. So would you help me welcome these folks, please? We don't have time today for me to tell you all of Pete Correll's accomplishments. In February, Pete was inducted by Governor Deal in the Georgia Historical Society as a Georgia trustee. And on your desk, there's a copy of the article that was in their magazine that gives you a really good overview of Pete and his career. Pete has done so much for so many, some things you've obviously heard about, but many things you probably have not. And I'd like to share just a few facts about Pete with you today that you may not know. Pete is a native of Brunswick and is the retired CEO of Georgia Pacific, where he served as CEO for 13 years. In 2006, Pete and Ada Lee founded the Correll Family Foundation and have generously given back to so many across this state, from the Elizabeth Correll Boys and Girls Club in Brunswick and the Correll Center for Teaching at the Coastal College of Georgia in Brunswick, to the Fulford Learning Center, which is named after Pete's wife, Ada Lee's mother, and the Correll Scholars Program at the East Georgia State College in Swainsboro, to the Correll Hall at the Terry College of Business on the campus of University of Georgia, the Correll Cardiac Center at Grady, and the Correll Center for Aquatic Animal Health at the Georgia Aquarium, just to mention a few. After graduating from Glenn Academy, Pete attended Georgia Tech on a golf and an academic scholarship to study chemical engineering. He left after 1 year because he said there were no girls there and everybody over there studied all the time. So, Mr. Speaker, after that, he sort of wised up, and after he left Tech, he came over to Georgia and decided to go to school with us over there, and he earned his bachelor's degree in business administration. But more importantly, that's where he met Ada Lee, and that's a story within itself. I'll have to get him to tell you sometime. After graduating from the University of Georgia, he attended the University of Maine and obtained his master's degree in chemical engineering and pulp and paper technology. In 1993, Pete was named CEO of Georgia Pacific, and he held that position until he retired in 2006. Now, Pete's not just one to sit around, so in 2008, Pete, Tom Bell, and Michael Russell decided Grady was in serious financial trouble, and they wanted to do something to help because they knew Grady was a statewide asset that provided care to the citizens from every county in this state, and it was too important to fail. They raised $350 million, restructured Grady's governance and operations, and the rest of that is history. Last year, Pete retired as chairman of the board of Grady and now serves as chairman of the Grady Foundation. It's a real pleasure and an honor for me to introduce to you the man who saved Grady, Pete Correll.
We're honored to have you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Butch. Butch and I were fraternity brothers at Georgia, and he introduced me to my wife. And so whenever Butch says, I want to tell you a few things about Pete Correll, I get a little weak in the knees. But thanks, Butch, for leaving a lot out. Thank you very much for this honor. It's not necessary, but I certainly appreciate it. Anytime I receive one of these honors, I'm reminded of that famous Zell Miller story about the turtle on the fence post. Anytime you see one, you know it didn't get there by himself. Well, that's me. People like John Hoppert and Rhonda and thousands of other people over at Grady really accounted for what happened. But it's a wonderful institution. We'll be back next year as the healthcare world changes. Many of you know the two counties, Fulton and DeKalb, have reduced our funding by over $50 million a year since we took over. And so as we incur additional cuts, we're going to come back over here on our knees. But today, I just want to say thank you for the recognition. Thank you for what you do for our state, and it's truly an honor. Thank you very much.